We start the week with a practice that is essential for our well being, much more so during the pandemic, one of self awareness. And who better than Dr. Deepak Chopra, the international wellness guru, to help us recognize this power within? Author of bestsellers like Total Meditation, Dr. Chopra is joining us today all the way from US, addressing the importance of devoting time to ourselves and making it a habit. Good evening, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and thank you for making time on your Sunday to be with us. Without further delay, here's Dr. Chopra.
I shall proceed forthwith to discuss with you the future of well being as we know it. This last year, of course, as we look across the human landscape, what we're noticing right now is what is called grief. Grief happens when you lose something which you took for granted. I see first people feeling victimized. Why me? And right now, of course, we see that this is the condition throughout the world. We are all experiencing the ravages of COVID-19 pandemic. The second stage of grief sometimes is anger and even hostility, and then frustration and helplessness. And unfortunately, many times I have seen people transit in deep frustration, deep anxiety, deep fear. And that is a very tragic thing to see. Once in a while, I see acceptance, not of the past. We can reinterpret the past, not of the future. We can invent the future, but of this moment. When you find acceptance in this moment, you find peace. And when you find peace, you find meaning. And when you find meaning, there is the opportunity for healing and also reinventing ourselves, reinventing our lives. The body you have right now is not the body you had even 1 year ago. In less than 1 year, we replaced 98% of all the atoms in our body. So at the atomic level, you recycle your stomach lining every 5 days, your skin once a month, your skeleton once every 3 months. And in about 1 year, you've changed your entire body down to the last atom. Yet we recycle it in exactly the same way. And in order to change that, we have to shift in perception. During the course of my 40 years of medical practice, I've gone through many phases when I've realized that our physical bodies are actually an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, and therefore, in the ultimate reality, derived from consciousness. And the more self-aware we can be, the more we can actually transform the body, even physically, at the level of what we call physical matter, including what we call the biological markers of aging. So I've been experimenting on myself all these years, and now all this has become pretty public. I'm 74 years of age, but biologically, I would say with great confidence that I have the physical and mental capacity of somebody half my age. First thing we need to do is change our perceptions. Change our perceptions. The human body is not an anatomical structure fixed in space and time. The human body is made of energy, information, and understood as an intermittent stream of sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, and perceptions that can be modified by thinking of the body as derived from nothingness. Our physical body, if you go beyond the atoms and molecules and force fields and waves and particles that make up the appearance of the physical body, you will find that the body is at the subatomic level made of everything else that the new universe is made of. It is a vacuum that transforms itself from nothing to a shifting stream that we experience as sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, and perceptions. And the first thing we do to change our perception of the physical body is to understand that it is possible to grow old and still have the biology of youth. Today, we also know that only 25% of the genes in your body are human. So when you were conceived, you received 25,000 genes from your parents, about half from your mother, not about, exactly half from your mother, exactly half from your father. But then as you entered the world, you acquired 2 million to 20 million extra genes. These are called bacterial genes, and they're referred to as the microbiome. And these genes are present in our skin, in our mouth, in our eyes, in our ears, in all the openings of the body, but predominantly also in the stomach, colon, and intestine. So when we put food in our body, the first thing it comes into contact with is the genetic information in the body that we refer to as the microbiome. And so if the food is inflamed, then that causes inflammation of the microbiome, which interacts with the human biome, the human genetic information, producing inflammatory metabolites that cause premature aging, inflammation, and increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, inflammation, anxiety, depression, and almost every chronic disease, including cancer and autoimmune illnesses. So today it is recommended that a diet that has maximum diversity of plant-based foods, in short, a vegetarian diet with maximum diversity of plant-based foods, and also if you eat meat or poultry, if you get it directly from a farm and avoid food that is manufactured, refined, processed, and has chemicals like antibiotics and hormones and inflammatory products and high sugar, you can, in fact, from switching to a manufactured diet to an organic diet, you can change your genetic information of the microbiome within a few weeks. And if you change the genetic information of your microbiome in a few weeks, you start to actually reverse many aspects that we see associated with aging and chronic illness, and you actually can reverse many chronic diseases. So it is my personal practice now for the last 30 years. I do a yoga session every day. My yoga session lasts about an hour or so. It's preceded with pranayama. And today is a lot of evidence that practicing yoga, doing pranayama, and even chanting and singing and deep breathing actually stimulates a nerve in the body called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is referred to as the healing nerve in the body. In fact, the word vagus is related to the English word vagabond. It's the 10th cranial nerve that comes from your midbrain, influences your facial expressions. Are you happy? Are you sad? Eye movements. It influences your body language. Are you relaxed? Are you tense? Your gestures. And we can now see the correlations between mood and experience and perception and what we call heart rate variability, blood pressure. And I'll show you some algorithms that we have created where taking a 10-second video of yourself, instead of calling it a selfie, we call it a wellfie. We can actually look at facial micro expressions, tone of voice, and correlate that with everything that's happening in the body. Because body and mind are one unit, just like mass and energy are one unit, just like wave and particle are one unit. Just like space and time are one unit, so are body and mind. Whatever happens in the mind is registered in the body. Whatever happens in the body refers back to the mind. By enhancing this co-integration, we can achieve a lot more than we would by simple aerobic exercise or weight training. A combination of brisk walking, breathing through the nose, yoga, and pranayama would be the ideal mind body integration. So, emotions like empathy, compassion, love in action, kindness, joy, equanimity are self regulating. Emotions like anxiety, anger, hostility, fear, guilt, shame cause inflammation in the body. We have a lot of data to show that gene expression changes with these techniques. All the genes that cause self regulation go up some 17-fold. All the genes that cause disease go down very significantly.
How would you describe an awakened life and why is it important?
Yes, so 99% of human behavior is predictable, it's reactive. So we either in stressful situations, we either fight or we run, or we try to manipulate other people by being nice and manipulative, stubborn and manipulative, nasty and manipulative, or play the victim and become manipulative. This is robotic behavior that is unawakened ego identity. The awakened life is being totally in touch with what in India we would call our soul, with Atma Darshan. And when you have Atma Darshan through meditation, going beyond the dark alleys and the ghost filled attics of the conditioned mind, the ego mind, then you find in that awakening complete transformation. Because even if you have the best health, best relationships, all the money in the world, ultimately everybody gets old. Ultimately, everybody gets some infirmity, and ultimately, believe me, everybody dies. And that is the basis of spiritual seeking. So, in Vedanta and the great Indian traditions, they call these the five kleshas: not knowing who you are, clinging and grasping at experience which is impermanent, recoiling from experience which is impermanent, identifying with the ego, and ultimately the fear of death. These are called the five kleshas, which totally disappear once you live the awakened life. And we will talk about that in the meditation.